Quilting is a lot of fun to do. Hand quilting is somewhat of a lost art, but quilting projects on your own is really a fun thing to do. So today I'm going to show you how to make your own quilting frames. Here is a list of supplies that you're going to need. They're also listed just below. These are the supplies that you're going to need to make your quilting frames. Now in the back here I have my set of quilting frames. I have 8-foot boards, I have 7-foot boards, and these in front are 5-foot boards. I use the 8-foot boards and the 7-foot boards for throw quilts, throw blankets. When I make throw blankets, I use these together. The baby blanket size are 5-foot, and those I use for baby quilts when I make those things. Now, in order to make your frames, you're going to need to go to the store and get 4 of the same size frames, boards. You're going to go to the store and you're going to find pine boards that are 1x3s. Now normally they come in 8-foot lengths. Some stores do offer them in shorter lengths like 5-foot or 6-foot. If that's the size you choose to make, then that's the size you're going to want to get. If you're going to get 8-foot boards and cut them down, that's what I have done too. But when you pick out your boards, you're going to want to pick out boards that are straight and that don't have any blemishes or knots or flaws in them. How you look for this, how straight a board is, you hold it up eye level, you look down the 3-inch side, and then you turn it and look down the 1-inch side. Some boards are going to be warped, but you don't want those. You also want boards that don't have very many, if any, knots or holes or cracks. You don't want those. You want the most perfect boards that you can find, and you may have to go through several in the stack to find 4 that are going to be acceptable. Now the reason I like to get 3-inch boards and not any other size is because when I put my fabric strip on it, it allows me plenty of room to put my pins when I'm attaching my quilt. It gives me plenty of room to put my pins on the 3-inch side. That's why I've picked 1x3s. Now, when you pick out your 4 boards, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to sand them. So when you sand your boards, you're going to need to have your 2 different kinds of sandpaper. Now, this is a 100 grit sandpaper. This is something like this would be acceptable. 85 grit, 100 grit, 110, 20 grit is fine. It's a coarse to medium sandpaper. You're going to sand all of your boards with 100 first. This will take off the cut edges that you're going to want to round the edges. And the ends also. This is where the splinters can form right here. So you're going to want to sand all of your boards with 100 grit or something close. Then you're going to want to go over it again with a finer sandpaper. This is 240 grit sandpaper. Anything close to this would be fine also. This will take off it'll make it smoother. This sandpaper 200 grit will make it smoother and easier to work with. Be sure to do the ends and the cut edges of your boards. And when you're finished sanding, be sure to wipe down your boards with a damp cloth to get all the dust off of them. Now, when you sand it, you're going to want to do this outside because excuse me, because it does make a mess. So you don't want to do this inside. Do it in the garage or outside. Then it'll leave the dust out there. Also, if you have an electric sander, it will go faster. It's a lot nicer. So once you get your boards all sanded, now we're ready to put the fabric strip on the boards. And to do this, we'll look at our supply list, our supplies right here. To do this, you're going to find get yourself a scrap sheet. I like to use a scrap sheet because sheets have a higher thread count and they wear longer, they wear better. So you're going to want to find a sheet or a long fabric scrap that's going to work. You want one whole long sheet or one strip. You don't want to piece it together. If you find that you don't have enough of a length of fabric, you're going to want to find another piece of fabric because you don't want to piece together 2 pieces of fabric to make up your length of fabric strip. The reason for that is that, for instance, here's a seam right here. If you have this on your board and you start attaching your bottom fabric, your batting and top fabric for your quilt, your pins are going to have a hard time going through this seam right here, plus all 3 layers that you're going to use for your quilt. So you want one whole long strip just for that purpose. So you're going to cut 6-inch wide strips that are as long as your board. So if you have 5-foot boards, you're going to cut a 5-foot long, 6-inch wide strip. Same goes with 7-foot, 8-foot boards. That's what you're going to cut. So I'll show you what you're going to do once you get the boards, or excuse me, once you get the fabric strips cut. You're going to end up with 1 long piece, 4 long pieces. And how you're going to do this is you're going to take this 1 long piece and you're going to fold it in half. Now it's 3 inches. It's a good idea to iron this if you can. It'll hold its shape a lot better. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to fold it in half, almost in half again. You take your long strip and you're going to fold it almost in half to where now it's about 2.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. This is going to go this side down on your board. So good idea to iron this. It'll stay in place better. You're going to lay this fabric strip on your board, and if you notice, there's going to be a little bit of a margin of board at the top and at the bottom. That's fine. But when you lay this on your board, you're now ready to attach it. I have used an electric staple gun for this purpose. It works well, goes through all of these layers of the fabric onto the board. If you don't have that, I have used also these cut tacks, 1/2-inch cut tacks. The tacks, whatever you get, needs to have a head on it. It needs to have a head because through wear and through storage, sometimes this fabric strip may come up. It may be pulled on. If there is no head on the nail, the fabric strip could come up, and you don't want that. It just causes makes you have to repair it. So you're going to get these. This size right here happens to be a number 6 by 1/2 inch, and that's what you can put in here. Now, when you tack them in and when you staple, you're going to want to staple it every 3 to 4 inches. It needs to be close enough together so that when you put your quilt on it, it doesn't pull off very far. It doesn't pull on your fabric strip. So you want to attach it every 3 to 4 inches. And the only thing you're going to need now that you've got all 4 boards with the fabric strip tacked down is, and I'll show you how this is going to look. Yours will probably look close to this. Here I've attached both staples and these cut tacks. The staples aren't really all the way to the end, and they don't need to be. And your fabric strip can come anywhere close to the edge. It doesn't need to be all the way to the edge. If it is, that's fine, but you're not going to use this part of the board anyway, so it won't matter. But here's the tacks with the on the fabric strip, and I've tacked it and stapled it right on this fold. And now these boards are going to last a long time, and they'll wear for a long time. The only thing you're going to need now is a set of C-clamps, and you're going to need 4. And these happen to be 2-inch C-clamps. Getting a 2-inch or 2.5-inch or maybe 3-inch C-clamp is big enough. These boards are 1-inch boards. They're actually not 1-inch boards. They're just a little bit less, more like 3/4 of an inch wide. So a 2-inch, C-clamp is going to be plenty for these boards. And now that you have your boards finished and you have your C-clamps, now you're ready to attach your quilt to your boards.